In the last episode, Lu Sheng and the team encountered a group of martial maniacs, led by a former Eastern military general with a combat power of 13 stars. Despite the seemingly powerful opponent, he still got one tapped by our boy. Later, as Lu Sheng ventured deeper into the cavern, he came across an awful-looking creature. Deciding to play a prank on it, but he unintentionally caused a cavern uprising. Quite typical for our boy, am I right? As we continue the story, everyone is stunned when Lu Sheng casually mentions that he had accidentally caused a cavern uprising. After all, he didn't seem worried at all. Wait a minute, a cavern uprising? You've got to be out of your mind, they thought, snapping to attention. Nearly terrified out of their wits, they quickly packed up their belongings, slinging bags full of mithril over their shoulders, and sprinted back the way they came. As they ran, they could hear a creepy voice shouting, "I'm going to kill him." Lu Sheng led the way, clearing a path whenever they encountered a beast. The others didn't have to worry about anything except running for their lives. Soon enough, they saw the cave entrance. With a leap, they were back on solid ground, setting down their bags of mithril and taking a sigh of relief. Lu Sheng walked back to the cave entrance and looked down. Standing at the edge, the girl in the group lamented, "Good thing they can't climb up here." Hearing this, he chuckled. She was curious about how Lu Sheng had caused such a huge uprising. Fortunately, the beasts got stuck in the tiny cracks while chasing them, and only a few managed to keep up, but they never caught them. However, she could clearly sense that there were creatures stronger than level 7 among them. Lu Sheng smiled and told her not to worry. He then suggested they should return to the military base to sell the goods first. The three guys hoisted their large bags of mithril and slowly walked towards the parking spot. Looking down the cavern for the last time, Lu Sheng clenched his fist and waved it a few times, thinking that if what happened down there happened to him, he'd be mad too. But he was ready. One day, he'd come back and give that monster a solid uppercut. It would be even angrier then. They didn't waste any time and soon arrived at the military base. After a night's rest, they went to the headquarters the next day with their bags of mithril. The sight of all that precious mithril left everyone in shock. They were both envious and amazed at the group's luck. Some even asked how they found so much mithril in such a short time in the cavern. Not only was it a lot, but the purity was also exceptionally high. It looked like their team was about to hit the jackpot. The three of them laughed heartily, clearly very pleased with themselves. The captain of the Red Snail team also came over. He told everyone it wasn't just luck, and asked, did anyone notice the license plate on the car outside? Only then did everyone notice that the plates on the Jeep were reserved for top generals. Hearing this, they recalled the unfamiliar young man from a few minutes ago. Was he a top-tier Great Grandmaster? The Red Snail captain nodded to his teammates, admitting he had underestimated the guy. His face showed much regret. That was a real big shot. What a missed opportunity to get to know him better, he thought. Just imagining how they shared a cavern and chatted with a 12-star general, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the missed chance. The next thing the bald guy said shocked everyone even more. He told them that although Lord Lu Sheng's official combat power was rated at 12 stars, that was far from his true strength. He estimated Lu Sheng's real combat power to be at least 20 stars, causing everyone's eyes to widen in disbelief. Meanwhile, Lu Sheng left the mithril for the team to handle and returned to his mansion. At his level, he didn't need bodyguards, but the military had still assigned 2 gatekeepers for him. After the team finished dealing with the mithril, they returned to report back to Lu Sheng. He assured them that once headquarters calculated everything, he'd transfer their share to their accounts and send them off to rest. They quickly saluted and left. Back in his bedroom, the first thing Lu Sheng did was lay down on the bed. He had many questions, and only the dream realm could help him find the answers. Entering the information library, he started searching for details about the cavern rifts, especially the fissures. He wanted to understand what they really were and what kind of creature lurked in their depths. Soon, a wealth of information appeared before him. He quickly learned that the so-called fissures were linked to what was called the second battlefield. According to the Fireseed Resource Library, a fissure is a spatial tear created when 2 worlds collide and overlap. These fissures vary in size and nature. Some of the more stable ones form twisted gray zones large enough to allow top-tier powerful beings from both worlds to enter. In other words, this was pretty much a coliseum. 2 worlds, existing in different layers, times, or even dimensions and universes, unexpectedly overlapped and collided for reasons that remain inexplicable. But he knew this was the origin of the beast invasion. Clearly, the beasts' world was far stronger than theirs, making it easy for the beasts to invade their world. In contrast, it was nearly impossible for humans to reach the beasts' world. Both sides were under some kind of rule that suppressed them, but it worked in humanity's favor. Lu Sheng continued to ponder. Although he had absorbed the memories of countless zombies, scenes involving 10th and 11th level martial artists were rare, and he never had the chance to witness their prowess. It turned out they all went to the second battlefield. There, the top human martial artists clashed with the powerful beasts. Both sides grew stronger over time, causing the war between the two civilizations to drag on for 10,000 years. Despite all this, humans had lost. Martial artists at the 10th and 11th levels were not enough to defeat the mighty beasts, so humanity had poured everything into producing a 12th level martial artist, later known as the Fire Seed Plan. But would reaching the 12th level guarantee victory for humanity? Or would it only provide a temporary advantage on the second battlefield? Or perhaps just barely stave off defeat? Lu Sheng didn't know the answer. Just thinking about this made him feel a mix of emotions. He thought it was unlikely, but he now knew that a person had to be at least at the 10th level to enter the second battlefield, and they were currently in the 300th martial year, with the second battlefield yet to be discovered. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Lu Sheng began to see the faces of his comrades, friends, family, and everyone he met at the military base. For a brief moment he wondered, did this beast invasion really matter to him? Was the future truly that important? Wouldn't it be better to live a peaceful life now? These thoughts flickered for a moment, but vanished just as quickly. No, that's not how it was. Lu Sheng suddenly felt a surge of energy, his eyes blazing with determination. If he could reach the 11th level, or even the 12th level, within a short time, he might be able to use the fissure to his advantage. Not only could he strengthen the human race by producing more higher-level martial artists, but he could also single-handedly charge into the beast's world before they had a chance to grow stronger and eliminate them all. Suddenly, a golden light seemed to fall upon him, as if he had an epiphany. Moments later, he felt his martial will strengthening, sensing changes within his body. Was it because he had finally set a clear goal? Lu Sheng realized that this plan might just be feasible. He needed to grow stronger, reach the 12th level, and then enter the second battlefield. By leading the charge to invade the beast's world, he could end the catastrophe at its source. With this resolve, he understood that he had to act swiftly. If he succeeded, future generations wouldn't have to worry about beast invasions, and there wouldn't be so much loss of life. The war no longer needed to drag on for another 10,000 years, risking the fall of civilization. No, he would end it within his lifetime, with his own hands. He was resolute. He would be the one to end it once and for all. Leaving the dream realm, Lu Sheng stepped into the main hall for a sip of tea. The butler and the maid entered, greeting him respectfully. The maid even prepared a fresh pot of tea for him. The butler signaled her, and she quickly brought the tea to Lu Sheng, saying it was a gift from the butler, exclusive Dragonwell tea. Lu Sheng glanced at the tea, noting just by the look that it was exceptional. He took a sip, and found it indeed superior to any tea he had previously tasted. To his surprise, the tea contained a peculiar energy. This got him thinking. He never imagined he'd reach a point where people would offer me exclusive tea. Seeing Lu Sheng's satisfaction, the butler smiled and clapped his hands. Another servant rolled in a cart with a silver case on it. This is the custom-made level 7 spear you ordered. Please inspect it. Lu Sheng was a bit surprised at how fast they had finished crafting the weapon. Using his psychic power, he opened the case and swiftly assembled the long spear. The new spear was impressive, and Lu Sheng was very pleased. He could feel that the new spear's flexibility and hardness far surpassed his old spear. Though he was told this spear was at level 7, he thought it was actually near the 8th level. He then informed the butler that he had brought back a significant amount of mithril and wanted him to help forge a new weapon. He would send the design later. The butler readily agreed. Lu Sheng also told the maid that he would be hosting friends later and asked her to have the kitchen prepare some food and drinks. After the butler and maid left the hall and closed the door, the butler turned to the maid with a smile, saying she was very lucky to work for someone like Lord Lu Sheng. The maid blushed and nodded. The butler then left, but reminded her to work hard and not to betray Lu Sheng's trust, hinting that she might have opportunities for advancement in the future. The girl nodded again, saying nothing as the butler departed. Suddenly, someone called her name. She turned to see a man in a cloak, who told her not to be alarmed. He said he was an old comrade of her parents, and even held her once when she was a baby. He wanted to learn more about Lu Sheng, and asked the girl if she was free to talk. The girl hesitated but eventually nodded, though she looked somewhat stressed. At the same time, at the airport in the Eastern Third Battle Zone, Snowy stood at the entrance, perhaps waiting for someone. Clad in her military uniform, her beautiful face and perfect figure naturally drew many eyes. A blond man passing by suddenly noticed her. Removing his sunglasses, he remarked, "What a beauty." The pervert first glanced at her boing, and then slowly moved up to see her face, and said, "She has the kind of temperament I like." The man approached her and suddenly asked, "Which battle zone? Which division?" Noticing the 7 stars on his shoulder, she knew he was a 7-star general. Although she realized he was trying to flirt, because of his rank, she saluted him out of respect and stated her unit, commanding officer, position, and her name. He didn't recognize General Yu's name, but mentioned he knew their top general from the 9th Battle Zone and suggested she join him for dinner that evening, bringing along the top general. At this, Snowy became somewhat impatient. She shook her head and, maintaining her composure, said she was waiting for someone and already had plans for the evening, so he would have to be disappointed. The man's face darkened, and with a commanding tone that brooked no refusal, he said, "Cancel them." She shook her head again and replied that she couldn't cancel. The person she was meeting would be very upset if she did. Infuriated by her repeated refusal, the man's aura intensified, unleashing some of his martial will. He demanded she bring the person along as well, saying he was very interested to see who could be more important than him in the 3rd Battle Zone. Just as he tried to threaten her even more, a calm voice sounded from behind them, followed by hearty laughter. A heavy hand clapped the man on the shoulder, and a tall figure reached for his neck, lifting him off the ground like a helpless chick. His uniform fell away as he struggled to comprehend the sheer strength of this man. The guy, with one hand in his pocket, looked at the struggling blond man with disdain. "Is this the strength of a general from the Eastern Military District?" The man continued to struggle, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't budge the powerful hand holding him. The man was then hurled across the room, crashing into a wall. Turning back, the tall guy scoffed, "And you think you can hit on my sister? As her brother, I don't approve." Snowy called out to her brother in her usual tone, and the man's demeanor changed instantly. He broke into a grin and said, "Hey sis, long time no see. You're getting more lovely every day." Snowy, used to his antics, smiled and said that since he had arrived, she would be heading back. Her brother laughed heartily and remarked, "Still keeping everyone at arm's length, I see." He then addressed everyone at the airport, his voice carrying authority. "Spread the word to all the top generals in the Eastern Military District. Dong Shengyi is here." Meanwhile, at a bar, Lu Sheng and Qin sat at a long table. Lu Sheng had just learned that Snowy went to the airport to pick someone up. Qin nodded and said, "Quite the coincidence, huh?" Lu Sheng, surprised, remarked that this person or friend must be important for her to go personally. Seeing Lu Sheng deep in thought, Qin smiled and ordered a few drinks, telling the waitress to put it on Lu Sheng's tab. Qin downed his drink in one go and explained, not just a friend, but her half-brother, Dong Shengyi. He added that Dong Shengyi, like Lu Sheng, was a martial arts prodigy and the most favored disciple of the transcendent martial saint, as well as being considered the heir in the transcendent martial school. What surprised Lu Sheng wasn't Dong Shengyi's strength, but the fact that Snowy had a brother. As for Dong Shengyi's prowess, Lu Sheng simply replied, "Oh, is that so? That's kinda impressive." Qin, seeing his reaction, burst into laughter. Lu Sheng's calm expression showed that he wasn't particularly impressed or surprised. "Our boy made it way too obvious." Qin wrapped an arm around Lu Sheng's shoulder and said earnestly, "I know you're young and already at 12 stars, but don't underestimate Dong Shengyi. He's not an ordinary guy. Being the martial saint's heir is no small feat, and he's just one of her brothers. The other is Dong Potian, currently in the Central Military District. He ranks first on their general star list with a combat power of 27 stars, nicknamed the Central Emperor. His and his combat power is more than twice his. Think about what that means." Lu Sheng was genuinely taken aback this time. Again, not because of the combat power. We all know that's least of his concerns. What he was actually thinking was that he recalled reading about Dong Potian in the newspapers a few days ago, touted as the top contender for the new general in the upcoming grand military competition. Well, now he knows, Maybe our boy will go a bit easy on this so-called Central Emperor.